And you know what I've learned, BMitch?
Mm-hmm.
No matter how smart you are, no matter how good at picking NCAA tournament games, sounds like Pollen still gets to Greenberg. You all right over there, dude?
I'm okay. How are you?
We're good. We're good.
Don't go to North Carolina, then. I'm gonna tell you that.
We're all suffering from pollen, and BMitch claims North Carolina has it worse than any other place.
When the cars were going down the street, Neil, you can see the green just coming away from the tires.
My car is now yellow.
I've never had allergies until I moved down here, and my car has like a film of yellow on it, and that's when I know it's time for me just to sit in the house. Nebulizer.
It's tough, dude. This is a tough time of year. We're all out here, just grinding, just being heroes. There's a lot for us to discuss. I want to ask you this because you're really smart. I'm gonna start with the Terps job, then we'll go tournament, then we'll go Caps. Is there a demonstrable difference between Buzz Williams and Kevin Willard?
Good question. I mean, I don't know. I think it really is going to depend on what happens with the players that you have and then what happens with the players you're going to get. I think we're really now just in the era of how do you navigate the portal and NIL, right? Like that's really what we're into now. So I'm not really sure. I don't know. I mean, I think this has the chance to be something really good. Because I do think Maryland as a program is something that's worthwhile. But I'm just not. I mean, Kevin Willard was not. He was not a very good tournament coach, and I think that Buzz Williams is probably a lot better in that regard. So if you're looking for like on the horizon, I think Buzz will do a better job in the tournament, and I think that's ultimately where you make your street cred, right? I mean, like the regular season titles are nice, the regular season wins are nice, but everyone really remembers like how you did in the tournament. And Willard had 2 wins during his tenure in both at Maryland and Seton Hall.
He has won Sweet 16 in 18 seasons as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, that's not great. Whereas Buzz Williams routinely outperforms both his seed and also like his Ken Palm rate. Like when he was at Marquette, he won 2 or more games 3 times. Did that at Virginia Tech as well, won 2 games. So I think that, he knows, he certainly on paper looks to know what it takes to get your team ready for the tournament. And, he's had some pretty decent seeds with Marquette and Virginia Tech, so he obviously knows how to win during the regular season as well.
How much of this is going to fall on Maryland also to be like some of these other schools are? Because we can sit up here and talk about how great the coach is all we want. If you can't get the players that they're going to need to get, then you won't compete.
Yeah, I mean, this is finally being recognized as a business, and you have to pay to play. NIL is important. You not only have to make commitments, you have to follow through on their commitments. We've seen a lot of players talk about in different sports talk about how they were promised one thing and kind of a bait and switch type situation. So you need to be committed to it. And with Maryland, in the conferences and just and everything like that. I mean, football is going to soak up a lot of money. So you have to be judicious with the money that you give out, and you have to be willing to spend. And again, I think the transfer portal has proven to be really important. So it's a whole new landscape, and you have to have a progressive coach that understands that. You have to have a progressive AD that understands that, and you have to be willing to spend money, especially in a conference like the Big Ten.
Absolutely. Talking with our friend Neil Greenberg here on the Rude Guest Hotline. You can follow Neil at N Greenberg or check out his work with the Washington Post. You know what, dude? I'm surprised you don't have a podcast yet.
A podcast? Why? I come on your show.
Yeah, I mean, we love having you. I just feel like everybody has a podcast. I feel like yours would be very interesting. Anyhow.
This is my podcast.
Okay.
It's Wednesdays at 11 on the BMitch and Finlay show.
There you go.
We'll start calling it that. We'll see if we can sponsor it. So with the Terps job, I feel like they did a hell of a really good job of moving quick to fix something that went sideways. As for this NCAA tournament as a whole, it's been boring, dude. There's been a couple good games. The end of Houston-Purdue was awesome, but when we heard, there were no real upsets, but don't worry, the Sweet 16 games will be so good. Well, they weren't. And now we're going to a Final Four with all 4 1 seeds. You called chalk. Chalk is rocking here. What have you thought of this tournament so far?
I thought it's good from a basketball standpoint in that the 4 best teams are playing for the championship. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of heavyweight matchups. I think Houston-Duke can be really good basketball. But that's not what the masses come for the tournament, right? They want to see the 12 seeds win. They want to see a team that they never heard of, come out of nowhere and just start to progress through the tournament. I mean, that's what they want to talk about, and that's, what makes the bracket exciting for the people that enter the pools. I think, when you can win a pool by literally picking the chalk the whole way through, that's just not a good experience for people in general for this type of tournament. So I think the tournament has been kind of a big meh burger, but the basketball has been good. I mean, it's, people complain about the best teams not getting a chance for the title. Well, here you go. Number 1 seeds are all in it for the second time ever. And I think that we have some good basketball, but I think this is going to be more the norm than just kind of a one-off. We saw chalky last year. More analytics are coming out. They're being used better. They're being used to get the teams in the tournament, the right teams, the right spots. There's always going to be some snubs, but I think that this might be the new normal going forward.
I mean, how often have we seen somebody other than a number 1 win it all? Yes, we do get those lower seeds to go all the way.
That's a great question.
We got the lower seeds to probably get to the Final Four, get to the Elite 8, get to the Sweet 16, but they don't win it. So the 1, 2, or 3 wins it every year.
You're absolutely right, and I think what people enjoy is seeing the double-digit seeds in their in their bracket win. I think that's really what people are looking at. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you look at the Ken Palm ratings, just to use an example, and you can narrow down who the top 5 actual contenders are just based on where they're seated in the Ken Palm rating. But with the exception of Connecticut in 2007, there's been a 1 seed that's won, I want to say 10 times maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times.
What was UConn?
You had a 2 and a 4 and a 3.
What was UConn 2 years ago? Not last season, but
4.
A 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
point.
UConn
in 2014, they were a 7. They were a 3, a 7, and a 4, and a 1. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's chalky after the Elite 8, but it's the parts before that get people excited because, what bragging rights did you have here? I mean, I picked the Final Four in the women's bracket exactly, and I somehow sussed out that the Cinderella number 2 UConn was going to make it. But, I mean, other than that, you have 3 number 1 seeds. I mean,
the women's bracket, tends to be quite chalky. Now,
it does.
To B's point, the men's winner has been chalky throughout time. Mm-hmm. But hell, wasn't it 2 years ago, San Diego State and Florida Atlantic made it to the Final Four?
Yeah, and I actually had San Diego State making the final in my bracket, by the way.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean,
it's making money off all this.
My kids should be able to go to college. Okay. They'll be all right.
All right, good.
It's all legal now. Look, people like the upsets. I think if it's chalk, I think you'll get the interest in the pools down, And I think that's ultimately like what makes March Madness the spectacle, right? Is that, you have so many people who really don't follow college basketball or into college basketball because of the pools.
Mm-hmm.
But if all you need to do is pick chalk, I think people are going to get turned off by it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now
They'll stop picking all those whack upsets, though. I promise you that.
Right, they're not going to pick by mascot anymore.
Dude, I tell you what, we didn't let Greenberg in the invitational bracket, did we? That was probably smart. He probably would have won it.
You didn't ask.
But Neil, you should know this, that Matt Valdez and Bob Biaggi are dead last in the BMitch and Finlay brackets.
Oof.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you got a friend that's right above them by 1 point.
Yeah, but all I did now, BMitch is BMitch. Here's what I'm doing. I'm pointing out first place and last place. BMitch is in first place. Valdez and Biaggi are in last place.
You're either first or you're last.
That's right. Now BMitch wins if Houston beats Duke. Our buddy Bees wins if Duke gets to the title but loses to Florida.
Ooh.
Jeff and Digital Lou split it if Duke wins the title, and White Brian wins if Auburn beats Duke in the title game. How do you see the Final Four shaking out, Mr. Greenberg?
Duke, Florida at this point, I think. Duke beats Florida. I think Florida will have no problem handling Auburn. I think Duke will be able to grind it out versus Houston. I think Duke can beat any team.
Neil, I think you're trying to get Brian to come through the phones on you, man.
I would never stoke the fires to cause an argument. I don't know where you hear that from, but that is not
Brian
me
is
at
over there
all.
like already shaking his head like, man, who is this guy?
So you got Duke beating Florida, and you also nailed the women's bracket. And for those that are unaware, you can also gamble on the women's bracket. What do you like on that side of things? You said University of Texas a while back.
Yeah, I have UConn. What do I have? I have UConn beating Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. And I faded USC before the injury too, because this was obviously when the brackets were put out. But I have UConn over Texas in the championship game.
I feel like the women's tournament committee really botched that South Carolina, Texas is a Final Four game and not a potential title game. Doesn't that feel like a title game?
Yeah, it does.
I guess they had UCLA,
there's a lot of good
USC
women's teams, especially at the top. I mean, you can make a case for almost anybody. But I think UConn special. I mean, I like Paige as a player. I think that she embodies what women's basketball is all about.
Yeah, she can play, man.
So I don't root for players, but I think that's a storyline that I think is really good for the game itself and gives people like a star player to watch and develop and then move on to the NBA with the WNBA with. But I've always liked Connecticut this year. I thought that they were underseeded even as a 2 seed.
I agree with you. All right. Talking with our friend Neil Greenberg on the Rude Guest Hotline. Let's switch this up. A little puck talk. Caps win one last night. I think they could use a win, especially against a really bad Boston team. And Ovi gets a goal. He now needs 4. Got 8 left. We'll take an updated Greenberg power rankings. When does Ovi get the record?
All right, so I have the most likely games as April 12th at Columbus, April 10th hosting Carolina, and then April 13th hosting Columbus. I have those as the 3 most likely games that he does it. I give it a 70% chance we don't see it this year.
Really?
Yeah. He only needs 4.
You're saying a 70% chance he doesn't get it?
17.
Oh, okay. 17. I thought you said 70. Pardon me.
No. I'm not a lunatic.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to get it.
Yeah. It's going to be close, though. But, yeah, he needs 4 more.
4 in 8 games.
4 in 8 games. I mean, just get just get them all done. That's what I would say. If I'm Ovechkin,
2 tonight, 2 Friday.
If I'm Ovechkin, I just say, you know what? I'm just doing this right now. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want it to be over, and just get it done. I mean, it's that easy. Trust me.
Yeah, I agree, dude. What do they have in this kid, Ryan Leonard, that they just called up?
I think they have a lot. He certainly looked good during his time in college. I'm not surprised that they brought him up, but I think that he's got they got something there. I mean, he's certainly played well in Boston. He's a young kid. He's really good in the offensive zone. He can find guys, on the run. He's a good skater. I mean, he's someone that you can really build upon. And you look at, what Washington's building for the post Ovechkin years. There's a lot to like. I mean, you have obviously now Ryan Leonard to go with, like Prodas and McMichael. They're signing guys to long-term deals. They have Tom Wilson still. There's a really good nucleus there that can grow into a competitive team even after Ovechkin hangs it up.
Yeah, man. They have threaded the needle. They got younger
and better.
And it's just crazy what they're able to kind of put together this season. They're going to be the 1 seed. I think that's pretty damn obvious. I keep checking this. I don't know why I'm so obsessed by this, but if the playoffs were today, they'd play Montreal. Seems like Ottawa and Montreal are kind of pulling away in the wild card race. Are we worried about Montreal?
Well, you're going to hear a lot about the
Yaroslav
2010 series, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think what Montreal, they got a lot of scorers. I mean, obviously Caulfield and Suzuki, Patrick Laney. They have 12 guys with double-digit goals this season. Maybe they have one more, and Mike Matheson. So they got a lot. They got a lot of depth, and that's you can never take depth lightly. The goaltending though for Montreal is not great, and if there was a Halak type situation, that would be very out of the ordinary. So I'm not really worried about Montreal in terms of the defense. I think that if you let them in, it's going to be a problem. But I think that's something that the Caps should be able to put points on the board pretty easily.
One word answer: are you worried about Dylan Cruz?
No.
Attaboy. Thank you, Greenberg. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon for next week's podcast.
That's right,
bro.
That's the Neil Greenberg podcast via the BMitch and Finlay program.
Yeah.